We're not the suits that talk football. We're the dudes that know football. And you've just crossed over into the trend zone. Dave here with Casey. We are the football dudes. Are you ready, brother?
Not only am I ready, I am super. Thanks for asking.
You've just crossed over into the trend zone. It is February 3rd, a chilly 58 here on the west side. How you doing up there in the Sherm?
Good. Even though Puxatawny Phil saw his shadow, we get 6 more months, weeks, years of winter. I don't remember how the hell it goes. I'm doing pretty good up here in the Sherm. It's nice and cozy today.
Yeah, we're looking forward to a little sprinkling later in the week. This
Crap.
ongoing drought here. Okay,
You know what
Casey. In
everybody says about the rain in LA? We really needed it.
yeah, right.
It's an
LA.
inside joke, people. You got to live in LA to get it.
Oh boy, oh boy. All righty then. Well, in today's episode, we'll talk coaching carousel. We'll talk the Pro Bowl games very briefly there. We'll talk a little bit about the expansion possibilities for replay assist in 2025. We'll bring up Survivor if you're still surviving. Good for you, holy moly! And awesome, awesome preview of the big game, Casey. But we can't take a trip into the trend zone without a tasty nug for the people, Casey. And since it is the Super Bowl, Casey, we need some super nugs. What you got, Case?
Lucky for you and the peoples, I am holding Super Nugs, Dave.
Sweet.
Let's go back in time a little bit to that Chiefs Bills AFC Championship record audience, dude. An average of 57.4 million. Pinky to the mouth. That is a record for the AFC Championship and the most for any conference championship game since the Giants and the Niners had 57.6 in 2012. The eyeballs were in there, and that drew more than the Lions 49ers last year. And unfortunately, the bad news is the audience for the Commanders and the Eagles was way down, maybe because the Commanders were way down. Only 44.2 million. That's a big drop, and it wasn't a game. But overall, they put them together. It's over 50 million, down from 56, but that's just because the game sucked and people have to do the honeydews on the weekend. But that
Yes.
does not mean the eyeballs and the dollars will not be watching on Sunday, baby.
More
Fox,
nugs. More nugs,
more
please.
nugs, dude, in every pocket. Fox getting more than 8 million for
Woo.
double-digit Super Bowl commercials, dude. It is bonk city. This is the most expensive commercial that you can get, and it proves to be money well spent for most. And we will be talking about them after the Super Bowl. And Dave, 30 seconds last year got you around $7 million, and
Wow.
that generated 600 milli for Fox. And you might think that's expensive. You are wrong, my friend, because they sold out by November.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I knew that because Casey, when I was trying to get us a slot in there, they told me, nope, football dudes, you missed the boat here.
Damn
We're all
it.
sold out.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Dave, that's not the end of my nugs. I got more nugs
More,
for the
more
people.
nugs, more nugs.
More nugs. The
Bring
people
'em on.
want the nugs, so I
Fill 'em.
shall deliver. And it's a game so nice they played it twice. 9 pairs of teams have been part of a Super Bowl rematch. These Chefs and Eagles did it just a couple years ago, and 4 of those rematches have come in the last few years, in the last 6 Super Bowls to be exact. But only one set of franchises has done it thrice, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers and my Dallas Cowboys. And that was a long ass time ago,
Yes.
Dave. So maybe maybe we can get
Yeah,
the 4-peat in there somewhere. Maybe I don't know.
yeah, that last one, yeah, that one when we were adults. The two before that, I think we were, but we lids there, right?
Oh yeah.
All right, folks, the Trend Zone is available for subscription. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcast, download the Trend Zone. That's this podcast that you currently are listening to. Okay, so let's move it on to the top trending stories. The coaching carousel has been spinning wildly for a while. 7 head coaching vacancies started us off: Jets, Saints, Bears, Patriots, Jags, Raiders, and Cowboys. On previous shows, we discussed the hirings of Patriots getting Vrabel, Bears getting Ben Johnson, the Jets bringing in Aaron Glenn, the Vikings and O'Connell extending their deal there. But since the last show, some new stuff has come down. The coaching carousel is slowing down a little bit. It's not stopped yet. But Casey, talk about your Cowboys.
Yeah, last week the Cowboys go ahead and give the job to Brian Schottenheimer, who I think actually took this away from Kellen Moore in the interviewing process. It just seemed
Wow.
like they didn't know if Moore could stand in front of the team and motivate and be the voice in front of the players. I mean, the guy
Mhm.
can't even grow a mustache. How are you going to tell Micah Parsons what to do? And they really believe that Brian Schottenheimer can be a leader. Man, 25 years of NFL experience. Obviously, dad, Marty Schottenheimer, one of the best coaches in NFL history.
Love
So,
Marty.
so Shotty will replace um, Mike McCarthy there. And I warming up to this at first, I didn't feel like it was a sexy pick, but the more I hear coming out of the building, the more I'm stoked about this. Some of the innovation we saw at the end of the season is attributed to Schottenheimer, and his play calling has had some success. Hasn't gotten to the Super Bowl, but he said, I'm going to get there or die trying. So hopefully it's the first thing and not the latter. So I am warming up to it. He's assembling a nice coaching staff. Um, Clayton Adams will be the OC. I think Shotty's still going to call plays. We'll see how he puts this all together. But that run game is from the Cardinals is what really appealed to the Cowboys, getting him
Yep.
on staff. And then you flip it over to the defense and bringing back Matt Eberflus, who was kind of a
Floozy.
rising star with the Cowboys when he was the linebacker coach, did some good stuff with the Colts. It obviously didn't go well for the Bears, but he is a good defensive coordinator. So
Don't
I'm
put him in
feeling
charge of timeouts.
no, definitely. We're going to keep him away from all that, but he can run this defense. This will be the third different scheme that the Cowboys defense has had to learn in the last 3 years, fourth and four if you count Mike Nolan. So
Wow.
it's going to be a lot, but I'm coming around to the Shotty hire, and let's give this guy a chance and see what happens, especially with what the prices on those other guys are getting 13 mil, 12 mil. Whoa, pump the brakes on that.
Right.
So I'm getting stoked. And, it's the cycle. You get stoked, you get disappointed, you throw a tantrum, and then you start getting stoked again. And that's where I'm at, brother. Ow!
All right. Well, you're not the only squad, your Cowboys, that is, that have got themselves a new head coach that they're pretty stoked about. We're moving on to the Raiders, Casey. Talk a little about these Raiders.
Yeah, the Raiders go out and get a spry 73-year-old Pete Carroll. Seems like a really good fit there. The Cowboys actually called this guy in and they talked about Schottenheimer. I think this is a really good fit for these Raiders. If you saw the presser, beast mode was back there. Raiders. And now with Pete Carroll and Tom Brady in the mix, they're bringing 12 Super Bowls in here. Feels like the Raiders might be starting to get things right a little bit. Carroll, one of the handful of coaches that's won a national championship and a Super Bowl. So he turned SC into a complete program. He
Yep.
turned the Seahawks around. So with the
Yep.
brain power with him and Brady, man, I think things could be getting together for these Raiders. So you gotta like it. And I'm telling you right now, start stocking up on the bubble gum in Vegas, baby.
Yeah, he's chewing like crazy. They didn't just stop there. They also hired an offensive coordinator, Casey, and they busted the bank open to get this guy.
Yeah, Chip Kelly's making his return to the NFL after leading that Ohio State Buckeyes offense to a national championship. Kelly's moved around the last few years, but you saw the innovation on the field with these Buckeyes, and
I thought the play calling was pretty fun with the Buckeyes. So
phenomenal,
even
dude.
though
And
I
they
was rooting against them, of course, for my Fighting Irish, but yeah,
you
over and
saw
over
him
again, I was
distribute
like,
the ball
wow, I like
everywhere,
what's happening
really.
on the field. Yep.
Yeah, got the run game going, pushed it around, got it to his star players too when they needed it. So
Hmm.
not cheap. Kelly's getting 6 milli a year
Bucks.
for a coordinator position, dude.
Wow.
Oh my God. It is good time to get in there. But um overall,
Excuse
I
me.
really like what these Raiders are doing too, man. They're starting to make good decisions. So um, that's just what the AFC West needed. Another Super Bowl winning coach. Why not? Get in
Yeah.
there.
Oh, the accolades for the West, but let's save that for another show. The Raiders also got their GM Spytek in there, and he'll have some work cut out for him. They're picking 6th overall in the draft. They have a couple of quarterbacks there in O'Connell, Minshew, and Ritter. I don't know who's going to be left over after the season ends, but it looks like they'll be trying to either through free agency or through the draft acquire some more talent at that position. So
Yeah, it'll be
they got some
interesting to
money
see
too to spend in the cap.
what happens with Sam Darnold in Minnesota.
Yep.
Obviously, USC ties. Brady likes
Hey-o.
him a lot. That would be a good building block, and you go draft a quarterback as well. Dave, still a bunch more movement in the NFL. Robert Saleh is returning to be the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. Kind of sniffed around some head coaching gigs, didn't land anything. That's a great hire for these
Awesome
Niners.
fallback. Yeah.
Yeah, Dennis Allen, former Saints head coach, he is going to the Bears to be their DC. The Bucks promoted John Grizzard and the Wizard Lizard to offensive coordinator, and the
Awesome
Falcons
name.
bringing in Jeff Ulbrich. He was the DC that took over the interim head coach for those Jets when Saleh went down. So lots of movement there. The Browns also, Tommy Rees, he's the offensive coordinator. He got a promotion.
Good for him.
And then the Lions promote linebackers coach Kelvin Shepard to the defensive coordinator after Aaron Glenn left.
Oof, man, a lot of movement there since our last show a couple weeks
And
back
dude,
there.
you used to not hear about these coordinators
Yeah.
moving around so much, and now
Yeah.
it makes huge headlines.
I remember when Tommy Rees, now the Browns coordinator, was the quarterback for the Irish. Then a handful of years later, the offensive coordinator for the Irish. He's had himself a nice trajectory. Good job, him getting this thing. I think Stefanski, though, will still call the plays, but they'll work together to get that all
Well, dude,
dialed
I
in.
remember when Tommy used to work on the docks, union went on strike. He was down on his luck. It's tough. It's really turned around for him.
All right, moving on to the Jets. They hired their new GM, Casey.
Moogie. Darren
That's
Moogie is
right.
the new GM of the Jets. He was his second season as the assistant GM of the Broncos. Broncos have a huge influx of talent, so you're probably not disappointed to see
Nope.
this guy get away.
See you later, Moogie.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts with this Jets organization. It'll be interesting to see what transpires these next few months, but he has got a lot of work ahead of him.
Yeah, and they also brought in a new offensive coordinator.
Yeah, they sure did. Tanner Inkstrand. He's with the Jets now, so he will be the first OC with Aaron Glenn. Lots of work to be done in Jetsville, baby, to get that jet to take off.
Yeah, and the Texans, Casey, move on from Bobby Slowick, who was like a rising star just a year ago. They've got a new guy coming in there to be their OC.
Yeah, Slovic last year was the top of all of the potential coaching candidates. Didn't get a job, stayed put. What did that got him? It got him fired. Now it looks like they're going to be adding Nick Caley as the offensive coordinator to take over for Slovic. So you got to strike when the iron's hot there, Dave, but he's got a lot to work with in Houston. Tons of talent on the offensive side of the ball. That's probably a little bit why Slovic got out of there. Heard he was butting heads with CJ Stroud a little bit.
That'll do it for you. One guy's got a pretty lucrative contract coming.
Yeah.
So, all right. Also, Casey, news on the I want to get the hell out of here front as Myles Garrett has officially requested a trade from the Browns. What's the deal with that?
The Browns suck. It is a
Yeah,
dumpster
no
fire
doubt.
of an organization, and one of the very best players in NFL history wants to get the hell out of there while he's still playing at an elite level. Now, the Browns have said, oh, we're not trading this guy, but that's just so they can try to get a little more draft capital. They have that complete abyss of a Deshaun Watson contract just sinking them, the albatross just pulling them down. So why not get rid of your best defensive player? Poor Browns fan.
Right.
Factory sadness definitely going to be open all year next year.
Very sad. Well, hopefully he won't have to swing his helmet at general manager Andrew Berry to get that movement happening. Man, they got to get him somewhere. And you know what? Like you said, they can't afford him because of that stupid contract they're playing Deshaun Watson. So,
this just in, Myles Garrett to the Chiefs. He'll be suiting up for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, right. Jeez.
How do they do it?
Oh man, they sure do. Okay, moving on, Casey. had the great privilege over the weekend of watching the Pro Bowl games. I did not. So this is your field. Go ahead and tell us all about it. What did you like about these? How is it? How's it shaping up compared to the old Pro Bowl?
They're massaging all these contests and making them a little bit more exciting. Each year they tweak it just a little bit more. They're putting some thought into this thing and it's making it a better product. So, like before the QB accuracy thing, they had a player with them and they had to answer some trivia questions about current NFL players. And if they got them right, they added more time to the clock. So, that was kind of neat. The tug of war with all the linemen is kind of beefy. And some of the other things they do, they had a punt thing with it's actually pretty entertaining, but the flag game is totally awesome.
Okay.
And those guys really go after it. Not like you saw when it was a tackle game. Cats weren't wanting to do anything. You
Yeah.
could see the competitive juices flowing here. And I never root for Eli Manning, but he just got the 3-year sweep of brother Peyton Manning. So when it comes to NFC, I root for my guys. And therefore, Eli, all he does is take down Hall of Fame quarterbacks. If it's Tom Brady, if it's brother Peyton, but pretty fun. It was worth the watch. If I had to watch it live, I don't know, but I had tape delay so I could burn through all the nonsense. But overall, they're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. If only Eli could have ended up a kicker like he dreamed of, but you know.
And maybe on Sunday.
There's still a chance. Okay. Moving on, Casey. There's talk about an expansion of replay assist for the 2025 season. In 21, they expanded it a bit to when it's super obvious, you could spot the ball with the replay assist help, the complete or incomplete pass, the whether or not you're touching the ball and the out of bounds or whatever at the same time, or the end zone. So this season they included roughing the passer and intentional grounding as optionals for the replay assist. There is talk about it getting even a little more treatment. And I mean, I think we can both wholeheartedly agree that when we're sitting on our couch and see something that's obvious, we want the play to be fixed.
Absolutely. And now with technology being what it has, and you have the cameras and the pylons and the eye in the sky, there is no reason to not let technology confirm or dismiss a call. We saw some crucial calls, shockingly, for the Chiefs in both of their playoff games that really had a huge impact on those games. The phantom face mask, the phantom roughing the passer against the Bills, not getting the first down a couple times. If
Yeah.
replay can come in and say, no, that is a play, or no, that wasn't a face mask, we need to use the technology. So
Yeah.
we have it. Let's use it. There's so much writing on these games, so many dollars, everything about it. Let's get the call right. It doesn't take that much longer.
Yeah.
So they're talking about expanding it for a missed face mask, which would have come into play in the playoffs, hit
Yep.
on a defenseless player, which would have come to play in the playoffs, tripping, fair catch, illegal bat. Some of these are, minor or whatever.
Yeah. Rare
But,
occurrences, but
but the plays that change the game that are wrong, we got to get it fixed.
yeah.
Got to.
No question about it. So I think we both agree that the more that they can expand this and open these parameters up, the better it is, because we're going to get it right, and that's
Dude,
the
in New
important thing.
York, you could have 3 officials watching every game, however they wanna do it, that are
Yeah,
going along. The ref has a play, "Nope, that's wrong," or "Nope, that's right." You
yeah,
buzz them right down, you do it. You don't
it's
have any
easy.
problem selling all these TV timeouts for commercials. Getting the gameplay right is huge, is paramount, because you're hearing more people now talk about stuff potentially being rigged than ever before. That's the
Mhm.
last thing that the NFL wants. So let's get
Yeah,
the call right. We have the power, we have the technology, make it so.
yeah. Well, good news. Roger Goodell has recently said that um, the officials favoring the Chiefs is quote a ridiculous theory.
Oh yeah, ridiculous.
Okay, so that's
Tolbert
all. At least
is
that's solved.
reffing the Super Bowl. So
Okay, let's move on. Survivor Street Three Strikes. If you're somehow still out there, last week's most popular correct pick was
the Philadelphia Eagles over the Washington Commanders.
and lost last week's most popular incorrect pick was
The Washington Commanders over the Philadelphia Eagles.
okay. So next week's most popular pick is
The Kansas City Chiefs over the Philadelphia Eagles, Dave, almost 65%. So I don't know if that's a barometer of what the country thinks is going to happen or just the sickos that are still surviving. But
Yeah.
I'm no
Well,
math wizard, but that's well over 50%.
yes, it is almost 2 out of 3. And it makes sense because last week, the most popular pick that was correct, of course, was Philadelphia winning. So if you pick Philadelphia to advance, then that means you can't pick them again. That means you have to pick Kansas City in this
Have to.
case. So have to. Okay, Casey, moving on to the game preview. It is week 23 of the NFL season. It is Super Bowl 59. Woo!
Wait, what?
Yep, Super Bowl 59 coming right up.
It's slipping away.
Yes, it is. Indeed. All right, Casey, let's get it started. It was the Kansas City Chiefs it is the Kansas City Chiefs at 17-2 on the technically on the road or whatever.
Wearing the white jersey.
Right, wearing the white jerseys, good call. At the Philadelphia Eagles, wearing their green jerseys. 17 wins for both of these squads. Kansas City on the road is favored by 1.5. Of course, this is a rematch of Super Bowl 57, won by Kansas City. But Casey, let's talk first about how the teams got here, starting with the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs were the number 1 seed. Home field advantage throughout the AFC. They beat the Texans in the divisional round 23-14. And then in the AFC Championship, 32-29 win over the Bills. And Dave, that is the 4th straight time that the Bills and Josh Allen have lost to these Chiefs. And you
Ugh.
saw the despondent Josh Allen on the sideline after thinking like, what the hell do I have to do to beat these guys? I mean, you look at the numbers, it's consistent with Mahomes, 22 of 34, 237, 2 TDs, 104 passer rating. Mahomes, 18 of 26, 245 at
Yeah.
touchdown. James Cook, 6.5 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. Like the Bills played a great game, but when you're playing these Chiefs, the Chiefs, better than anybody, execute when it matters the most.
Yeah.
And
No
that's
question
why they
about it.
win.
No question about it, dude. And ultimately, that's what Mahomes does the best late in game, late game situations. Kelsey, they know how to move the chains. Um, we saw Patrick Mahomes in that game run 11 times,
Wow.
just 43 yards, but 2 touchdowns and multiple first downs. He knows when and he always fakes that pass like and somebody jumps for some reason and he
Yeah.
gets enough yards for the first down. So um, that's just kind of like situational awareness football that the Chiefs have, and they play their best when their best is needed.
And dude, we talk about what a chameleon type team this offense is. In this game, leading receiver Xavier Worthy, 6 for 85 and a touchdown. Then Juju Smith-Schuster, how many times have you said that all year? He had a couple grabs for 60 yards. And then Hollywood Brown, Kelsey in this game, only 2 grabs for 19 yards and no touchdowns. They morph to whatever the game calls for, and
Yeah,
they get it done. And then you flip it over to this defense, maybe underrated, maybe not. I think the secret's out now, but Spags is going
yeah,
with the game on the line. He sent a blitz.
gnarly.
First time we saw it all game. Spags kept that like a tasty super
Yeah,
nug in his pocket. Game is on the line. Once again, the Chiefs execute when it matters. And Dalton Kincaid, bro, I know it's tough. You got to make that catch. And the
somehow.
poor irony, the week before, the Ravens lose to the Bills on a drop pass by the tight end. AFC
Yeah.
Championship, the Bills lose to the Chiefs on a drop pass by the tight end.
Yeah, but you said it. Spags holding back on that super
Mhm.
killer blitz right there. Timed it perfectly, bringing the secondary guy in there and he was unblocked,
Blocked.
and immediately they forced Josh Allen's hand, and it was a done deal. Great, great coordinating by Spags. Okay, Casey, let's move it over and talk about how the Eagles got here. Looking back at last week's championship game.
Yeah, well, they Eagles, they beat the Packers 22-10 in the wild card round, 28-22 over the Rams in the divisional. And since those Durs beat down the Lions, the Eagles got to host this
That's
home
right.
game and they
Wow.
totally smashed Washington 55-23. And Dave, it's always a good sign when your first play of the game goes 60 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Saquon, part of the unstoppable run game all year for these Eagles, but specifically in the playoffs, man. This dude is just going nuts.
Yeah, he's going absolutely insane. The first play, like you said, from scrimmage, a run for a touchdown. The second carry for Saquon, also a touchdown run. Overall, they ran for 7 touchdowns in this game. Um, Jalen Hurts ran for 3 of them himself on 10 carries. So obviously they have the push play when they're down there close. That's simply unstoppable. But
Unstoppable.
Hurts with a really nice game through the air. But this was a domination on the ground. But through the air, you look at A.J. Brown, 96 yards, Dallas Goedert, 85 yards, Devontae Smith, 45 yards, A.J. Brown with a touchdown reception. All said and done, when you're running the ball as well as they were, though, you don't really have to throw it that much, you
No.
know? And so he did get Hurts did throw for 246 yards. He was a very efficient 20 of 28. So ultimately, it was just a fine, a well-oiled machine there offensively for this Eagles squad. And on the defensive side, Casey, for these Eagles, that first drive for Washington was like time consuming and it was like, wow, this is impressive. But they ended up holding them to a field goal. And really, I mean, from that point on, this defense was really, really just dominant.
Yeah, those guys are really starting to come together as a unit. And Zach Bond, dude, this guy might be the defensive player of the year. Came over as a special teamer from the Saints and is just
Blossomed.
gone off this season, dude.
What were the Saints thinking, letting this
I
guy
know.
get out of the building? It was a special teamer, and now he's a superstar.
Yeah, dude. And they did the same as the guy is Trey Henderson or Hendrickson. They let this guy go too. He's on the Bengals storming everything, but Fangio's really got this defense playing absolutely phenomenal. The guys up front, the beef there is just an incredible defensive unit. But I just want to go back to Jalen Hurts real quick in this thing. He's taken a lot of heat this season for not playing great in his LB Saquon. AJ Brown, 8 targets, 6 receptions. Dallas Goedert, 8 targets, 7 receptions. Devontae Smith, 4 and 4. Gainwell, 2 and 2. He's putting the ball on the money when he needs to get it done. So
Yeah,
it's
very
not
good.
just Saquon on this, but this is a total team deal here. If they can run like this, it might be trouble for these Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So
All right. Speaking of the Super Bowl, Casey, we'll get it started. The conversation here, moving along to the actual game, where the Chiefs' offense will take a look at first here. What they're trying to achieve, what we think they can get done here against that Philadelphia defense.
yeah, and the couple Super Bowls ago when they did meet
That's right.
up,
Take a look back at the
38
previous bowl. That's right.
38-35, the Chiefs down by 10 at halftime. Where have we seen that before? But then you get to the fourth
That's
quarter,
right.
they outscore the Eagles 17-8. Mahomes is his best when he needed to be 21 of 27, only 182, but 3 touchdowns, a 131.8 passer rating.
Wow.
And in that game, Travis Kelce, the leading receiver, 6 for 81 and a touchdown. But it was the late plays, Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore that had those huge touchdowns on the little jerk routes and went back out. So
Yes. And Mahomes had the sprained ankle, remember, in that game that was limiting his mobility, but he still was able to fight through it.
yeah, 6 carries for 44 yards. So we know that there's going to be a little bit of that there. And I don't know that the Eagles could have played a much better game than they did, besides the fumble that Jalen had, the scoop and score. That was a critical error in the game. And in that game, Jalen Hurts, their leading rusher, with 70 yards.
Yeah.
Kenneth Gainwell, second leader, 21. So
Right.
I don't
So
think
the
that's going to be
three
the case on
And
Sunday.
when you look at the difference between what we see in this game and what we're anticipating in the next one, certainly you mentioned it there. The running game. Jalen Hurts, the leading rusher with 70 yards. And all 3 of the other backs, Gainwell, Sanders, Miles Sanders, and Boston Scott, combined for 45 yards total.
Yeah.
So, and they were under 3 yards a carry with the running backs running the football. So that is the biggest, I think, contrast for what we saw in the Super Bowl from 2 years ago to what we
Mhm.
maybe anticipate seeing in this year's Super Bowl. Anything else you want to mention about the Super Bowl from 2 years ago? Excuse me.
That a 10-point halftime deficit is not enough. It's
Hmm.
got to be a 10-point deficit with 2 minutes left.
Yes,
It
exactly.
takes 4 full quarters and maybe even a little into overtime to try to beat these Chiefs. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, that game was tied up with 5:20 left on the clock, 35 all. Chiefs took care of business, finished it up with 11 seconds remaining. Go ahead, score.
yeah, that's what they do.
Okay, so moving it on to this year's version of that Super Bowl, Casey, we've got the Kansas City offense on the season. This offense has been absolutely exceptional. Well, that might be an exaggeration. They've been decent.
Yeah, but, we talk about week in and week out is they've played so much more football than everybody else has,
Yeah,
and, they lose Rashee Rice, their number 1 receiver from last year. They lose
yeah.
Hollywood Brown, the guy that they brought to come in this year and be the guy. They got a lot out of Xavier Worthy. He was really special in
He's
that
come
offense.
along. He's developed. Yes.
Kelsey started slow. They lose Pacheco for a huge part of the year. No
Bring in
problem. They
Kareem
go
Hunt.
out. Yeah, they bring him back. So not only they make the right moves, and they have so much leadership on this team that they also know what they need to do to get there. Maybe a down year for Mahomes, 26 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. But Dave, they lost one game that mattered this year. They did lose week 18, but that was Carson Wentz playing. They lost one game to the Buffalo Bills this year with all those problems. They scored more than 30 points, I think, just in the AFC Championship against the Bills. But they make the game a Chiefs style. So
Yeah.
they will have a nice game plan going. The brain trust between Reed and Mahomes, and even throw Nagy in there. They will
Hmm.
have a plan to attack this defense. Will they be able to get it done? Probably so. Mahomes has played his best quarterbacking in December and into January. He knows where legends are made, and
Yeah.
he picks it up then, dude. I don't
Yeah.
know how many 3 touchdown games he had during the regular season, but in the playoffs, guess
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, and this team, I was, you know, uh, I was saying in the beginning, they're exceptional. Blah, blah. They have been exceptional again when the game's on the line.
Yeah.
They're only 15th in points scored, but they have more points than the other team. With the exception of just a couple games. So that's all you need is more
Yeah.
than the other team. Another thing they do really well is interestingly, they're not really dominant at running or passing or one thing or another, but they do have a time of possession. They're sixth in the league in time of possession, which you wouldn't think of unless they were a strong running team. They're a decent running team, but they're actually 22nd in the league in rushing yards per game. So they seem to know how to move the chains, whether that's a clever run from Mahomes at the right time to move the chains, whether they find the seam with Kelsey, finding that weak spot in the defense. One way or another, they tend to hold on to the ball and extend drives, whether they do it a bunch of passing or a bunch of running or some combination therein.
And most teams, you can't trust the offense to go on a 12 play, a 15 play, an 18
Yep.
play drive without making a mistake.
Yes.
You can trust Mahomes to do that. And he is his best when the situation is most dire.
No question. And they don't get a lot of penalties called on them, especially with their offensive line, which is subpar and sometimes lines up in the slot position or looks like that tackle's like a running back there. But let's see how strict they are on that heading into this Super Bowl. Casey, let's move it over to the defensive side of the ball for these Eagles, man. This defensive unit is tough.
Yeah, dude. The number one with total yards against per game coming under about 278. The number one passing defense in the league, second in points against,
Wow.
um, 10th or 13th in sacks. They do everything well, and
Yeah.
the beef up front is kind of gnarly, dude. Like
Yeah.
Vic
They can
Fangio,
rotate bodies in and into that defensive line there where they just get one after another, dudes coming in there, putting, keeping guys fresh, big dudes,
Mhm.
Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis in there, just big body dudes on the interior there. They're really tough to move around. And they actually are decent enough to sort of be pass rush, but also run stoppers.
Yeah, we mentioned Bond coming over has just been an incredible addition to this in the back end. Big play Slay. You also have Dejean has been a major
Mhm.
impact there to
Mitchell.
Blankenship as well. A guy that I just I don't like, but they have ballers on that defensive unit, and it got
Yeah.
better as the season got on. And we saw what they
Yeah.
did to the Commanders in that game. I think it was 5 turnovers in the NFC Championship. So
Wow.
they're good against the run. They're phenomenal against the pass. They get after the quarterback and they create turnovers.
Yeah, and I think with Quinyon Mitchell and Darius Slay back there and Cooper
Mm.
DeJean, the new blood in there gives them a better secondary than the team that played 2 years ago in the Super Bowl against these Chiefs. This is a more talented uh, group in the back end of the defense.
Yeah, 100%. And Fangio, you can't diminish what this guy has done either. He's been around the league a long time. I think he's a nominee for defensive coordinator of the year. And you got to look, these Eagles, had a lot of turnover. They got rid of a couple years ago both OC and the DC. They bring in Kellen Moore on offense and Fangio on defense. And it was last year they were like 10-1 or whatever and fell off a cliff and lost the
Yep.
division to the Cowboys. This year they got better down the stretch.
Hmm. No question about it. I mean, Vic Fangio was exactly what this defense needed to sort of step it into the
Absolutely.
next level. Okay, let's switch it around, Casey. We'll talk about Philadelphia offensively and against Kansas City's defense, but first we'll get it going with Philadelphia on the offensive side of the ball. We obviously know what they want to do in this football game. It's going to start with handing the ball off to Saquon.
Yeah, they're gonna run the damn rock. Saquon, dude, Giant fan has got to be bitter seeing what
Oh,
this guy did, dude. 2,000 yards, almost 6 yards a carry, dude. He's also pretty good out of the backfield, but he's just a good guy that's hard to not like. I mean, I hate the Eagles, but this cat you kind of root for, which I don't like saying at all
I
because I hate these
heard you
stupid
say
Eagles.
it.
But and he made the play when they needed it too.
Oh
Against
yeah,
those Rams in the divisional round, it was his
big
runs that kinda, "Oh, they're getting close." No, they're not close. And
yeah.
you don't see breakaway speed like that at the running back position in the NFL like this guy's doing. I think he leads the league in most, like, TD runs over 60 yards or something like that. It's incredible what he's been able to do, and it's really shocking that the Giants let this guy get away,
The
and
other thing, though, Casey, is what the difference here that the Giants didn't have and what they do have, and they're bringing to this deal on Super Bowl Sunday is that big offensive line. It's so big and powerful and athletic too that um, defenses have to commit a lot of bodies to the line of scrimmage in order to try and plug all those holes. Well, if you have a lot of guys at the line of scrimmage and you pop a hole in there, that's what happens, and we've seen it a lot when Saquon suddenly busts open and there's nobody. It's like
no.
he's like 4 steps into it. It's 4 yards deep into the defense, and there's nobody that's going to catch him because he just
Yeah,
beat 11 dudes. Boom, right down
he
the field.
leads the league in yards per carry before touched by a defender too.
Yeah.
And you look at that line, Mailata, dude, and Lane Johnson both on the edges there. And Mekhi Becton, the reclamation project coming over from the
Wow.
Jets, wasn't good enough for
Jet,
the Jets.
Jet
Been a
fan.
little
How do you
banged up
feel?
at center there. I think Cam Jurgens will be fine. And Landon Dickerson's kind of been that plug in anywhere if someone else is hurt. So this
Yeah.
is one of the best offensive lines in football. You add one of, if not the best running back in all of football, and it is a terrible combination for opposing defenses.
No question about it. And we know for a while there, it didn't seem like their passing game was really clicking there early in the playoffs. Just seemed like, man, if they have to pass, what's gonna happen? They're gonna be up against it. But it seems like they've ironed a little bit of that out at this point.
Yeah, and I don't think Jalen Hurts was that healthy. I think he was really banged up. We know he had the concussion going in, but I think that
Yeah.
that throwing elbow was a little banged up too, and I think he might have had a hamstring too. But as he's gotten healthier, that passing attack has gotten much healthier too. We talked about the completion percentage last week and the on-target throws. AJ Brown, dude, he just drops it in a freaking bucket to this guy, and he's so big and so strong that he catches everything. And actually, Kellen Moore has done a really good job of scheming some of these guys open. You take the Slim Reaper across the field and get this guy into open space. You wouldn't think that he's got a football body, but this guy is tough for how
Yeah.
slim he is.
Yeah.
And dude, Grant Calcaterra, former Sooner, came in when Dallas Goedert was hurt a lot of the season and got some big time reps. Dude, I wouldn't doubt if we see this guy have a couple of huge plays in this game on
Well, and certainly
Sunday.
Dallas Goedert has been playing some pretty good football as well. So I wouldn't
Oh
be
yeah,
surprised at all to see them utilizing a lot of different weapons there in the passing game to try and keep those Chiefs honest. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So they can't
They
stack the line too much.
they have the players to do it, man. Oh, that is an impressive offense. And if they can get that run game going, like I said, it will be a long day for these Chiefs. And then if they're running like that, that really sets up what they want to do with some of the deeper stuff in the pass game.
Hmm.
If they can get AJ Brown in some one-on-one situations, that's what they look for with this offense, because you have to respect the run that frees the guys on the outside up a little bit. So
No doubt. If
you
you have to
definitely
bring
can
a
be
safety
expecting
down
that.
into the box, play after play after play, it's going to leave the middle of the field open. They're going to be able to, that's when the speed of Devontae Smith or the, going down the seam with the tight end there, and like you said, AJ Brown, big body, big target on the outside, uh, could be some big
And
play.
if you start playing man, that's when Jalen Hurts kills you with the run too. So that's
No doubt
another
about it.
layer to this offense.
Yep. All right, let's move it over to what the defense for the Chiefs is going to need to do in order to slow that offense down.
It's going to take Chris Jones wreaking havoc. Luckily for
Ooh,
the Chiefs, that's
does
exactly what this guy does, man.
what he does.
I don't think he's underrated anymore. People see how great of a player this is, and he is the key to up front what's going on with those guys. He finds a way to impact the game no matter what it is, if it's getting after the quarterback or if it's stuffing the run or whatever needs to be done. And then they get, contributions from some of the other guys on the front line, but it is really about Chris Jones up front. And we've
Yeah.
seen what he's done in the last Super Bowl, chasing Brock Purdy down, making him throw that pass a little too early and snuffing them out, making the Niners kick that field goal in overtime.
Ooh.
If it had a little more time, it would have been a touchdown. The game would have been over, but forced the field goal, opened it up for the Chiefs to go win that thing in overtime.
Yeah, well, when you talk about this defense, both these defenses are great, but this defense is fourth in points given up, and
Mm-hmm.
the Eagles are second. So who knows? This could be a super low scoring game. I somehow do not think that is the case. But when you talk about Chris Jones, obviously being obviously a Charger fan and in the AFC West, he's in my nightmares, and I'm not
Oh,
even.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous. But obviously the Greek god of sacks there has really emerged as well as a big player there for them. But on the back end, Casey, I think they have maybe the best cover guy in the league in Trent McDuffie back there. Just always sticking to the dude like glue, man. Speaking of a glue kind of guy, Drew Tranquil, the linebacker on the inside, just a smart football player out of Notre
Mhm.
Dame, was on the Chargers. I was disappointed when he went over to those Chiefs, but man, that dude's a stud. Just makes plays. Is in the right place at the right time. And I think another guy on the defensive line, Charles Omenihu, who had been
Mhm.
banged up a little bit, but man, when you put all these weapons into place and the way Spags can kind of unleash different parts of this defense, man, they certainly can really, really, really shut an offense down. Whether it's just playing kind of base stuff or sneaking in the sprinkling in like we were talking about some of those super clever blitz plays.
Yeah, and a guy that's been a bright spot for these guys too is Leo Chenal. The linebacking crew, you mentioned Tranquil, maybe one of the best budget, the most bang for your buck out
Oh,
of any of the contracts out there. Didn't get a lot. And Nick Bolton, he had that
yeah,
huge play in the last Super Bowl
I
against
believe
these
so.
guys. So if the big boys up front are doing that thing, it lets these linebackers have a little more freedom. And dude, as much as you said about McDuffie there, you could times that times 3. This is one of the best, if not the best, cover corner in the league. So is Spags going to make him travel, or is he going to stick him on AJ Brown and figure out what to do with the rest of the guys? You know, Spags is going to have it dialed up for these guys, but it will come back to,
Mm-hmm.
can they contain Saquon? No one's been able to do that this year.
Yeah, this
They're going to
defense here
have to
is
do that.
eighth against the run. So it's a solid defensive unit in containing the run. But this is an exceptional challenge with that Philadelphia O line, as big and strong as it is, and the way Saquon has been running the football. And you're dealing with a mobile quarterback as well, like you mentioned. When uh, you know, fall asleep on Jalen Hurts, he's just going to steal.
And they did it a little differently against the Bills. The Bills run game kind of takes it outside more than up the tackles. But, James Cook had a huge day against this Chiefs defense
Yeah,
last week. Now, I think they were more designed to make sure it wasn't Josh Allen that beat them, and they had to, give up a few things to try to contain
sure.
Josh Allen in that thing. But, you know, while Jalen Hurts is mobile quarterback and do a lot of things, he's not as dynamic as Josh Allen. They have similar traits, but they're definitely not the same player. So it's going to be a little different defensive plan. And like we talked about against those Bills, Spags dialing up that blitz that they hadn't seen all
Whew.
game. He's going to have a handful of those Spag nugs in his pocket when
Yep.
you got to have it. He's going to have a got to have it Spags play.
No doubt about it, dude. Any way you slice it, this is going to be an exceptional matchup, man. Whether you're looking at one side of the ball or the other, both these teams certainly deserve to be here, and they are. This is going to be a heck of a battle to see which one of these teams can come out on front.
And that's the other thing we talked about, the Chiefs on offense having such a good time of possession. Well, the Eagles do that too.
Yeah,
Which offense will be able to sustain
Eagles are
drive?
even better, right?
Yeah, and let the offense or the defense get their breath, keep their energy up on the sideline, so they have it when they have to get that stop at some point in the game.
Yeah.
Just another layer to the onion, dude. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful game, dude. Completely and totally stoked.
Totally stoked, dude. Another thing that's going to totally stoke out you and your football party, Casey, is the Football Dudes Super Bowl prop bet sheet. 10 questions about the big game, and everybody buys in. You answer each of the 10 questions. They're either yes or no, over or under. And, yeah, they're all 50-50 propositions, but the whole lot of them come together, and it makes for a nice additional fun thing to have at your party, along with your squares and all the grid and all the other good stuff and all your individual prop bets that you're doing out there, folks. So don't,
Dave,
yeah.
did the over under on how many times they cut away to Taylor Swift make the football dudes prop sheet?
That did not make our sheet, Casey. I'm sure that's
Damn.
out there in somebody's prop sheet.
I bet
So,
online 30 different Taylor Swift props.
wow.
30.
Okay. Well, we see that the NFL likes to have the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
I thought you were going to go with some bad blood right there, reference Taylor Swift, and blow everybody's freaking minds, but we'll work on that.
All right, folks. So many ways you can check out the Football Dudes Trend Zone, available for subscription: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, and go ahead and look for the Football Dudes and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like us on Instagram and Facebook. Follow us on X at Football Dudes LA, and make sure you tag us across all social media platforms.
Yeah, or just go to footballdudes.com. That is where you will click on the button and download your Football Dudes prop sheet for your party. Don't miss that. It will ratchet up the fun. That is going to do it for this episode. We're not the suits that talk football. We're the dudes that know football. Enjoy Super Bowl 59. For Casey, I am Dave, and we are out of here.